Good morning. I'd like to call the Tuesday, October 11th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Help us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First order, opening and reading of bids, which we have none this week. So we'll move on to the reports and requests from the commissioners. First is the accounts payable docket. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item, approval of proposal from Dan Charner and Associates for surveying services for Clay Park. I'd like to speak on that for a moment. A long time ago, the Clay Township asked that the park property be transferred to them. It is county property. They wanted to be assured that they had full control over the Clay Park. And to move that along, the first step is to obtain a boundary survey and legal description to verify and establish what exactly land we are proposing to transfer. So, pretty simple. We also have an agreement from the township to share the cost of this once the work is done. Commissioner Fleming, do you have any questions about that?
No, I think they've been wanting, other than they've wanted to do that for a while, and so I'm glad we're following up and getting that assessed, so we're good.
If so, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item is a township assistance appeal hearing. Do we have a motion to have the hearing?
Motion to have the hearing, yes.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries. We can hold a hearing.
Thank you, Commissioners. Phil Garrett with offices at 420 Lincoln Way West, counsel for the Commission with respect to this specific matter. Just a brief description to the Commissioners on what is before you today. This is essentially an appeal for the denial of township assistance benefits that's been filed by Jarrell Williams. Mr. Williams applied for assistance from the Portage Township trustee for rental assistance. It's my understanding from a review of the materials that the Portage Township trustee denied Mr. Williams' request for his failure to meet certain specific eligibility requirements. When that happens, Mr. Williams has the right to file an appeal. He has filed an appeal under Indiana law. That appeal then comes to the Board of Commissioners for your review and decision. The board has been provided the Portage Township trustees' eligibility standards and file on this matter as is required by state law. The board must use those standards to determine, to make a determination on Mr. Williams' appeal. The process for today will be a little bit like a court hearing. Mr. Williams will have the opportunity to present his case, testify, provide any evidence that he may have, and then the Portage Township trustee will have the ability to do the same. The board is free to ask any questions that they may have of either party. Once that process has concluded, then the board will make a determination as to their findings on the matter. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Not at this time. Let's.
Mr. Williams is here in person and present. Mr. Williams, if you could identify yourself, give your address, and then provide whatever testimony or evidence you may have for the board, please.
Hi, my name is Jarrell Williams, and my address is 1337 Woodville Avenue, apartment 303, here in South Bend, Indiana, 46615. The reason I filed an appeal is because I've been to all the different agencies in South Bend, and the resources that we have, I exhausted all of those. And then with St. Vincent de Paul, you can only be helped like maybe 6 times out of the year. And I've exhausted all of those. I can't get help with them until March of 2023. That's if I'm in the same situation. But I went to the trustee's office because that's the last resource that I have, and they denied me due to my income. but I have evidence that my checks fluctuate. I don't get a normal 80 hours because I'm a student. I'm working on my bachelor's degree. And for this month, I would like to can I present this to you guys?
If you
Take
do
that-
it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Thank you.
That is the check stub for this month stating that I'm below the threshold of income, which is 1611. With that check, I believe it's like 1,200 for this month. So I was just asking for assistance with help, and once the trustees help me, then I'll be able to get back on my feet if you guys approve that. Because I have $1,100 that I'm going to try to pay for this month alone in order to keep my place, in order to keep from being evicted. So I just ask for you guys' help. Thank you.
Don't have any questions yet. Mr. Coleman?
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Sean Coleman. I'm the Portage Township trustee with offices at 133 North William Street, South Bend. We are, in our office, we are sympathetic to persons who come to us in a situation like Mr. Williams did. His particular situation is more unique in that his pay fluctuates based on the number of hours he has in a specific month. And as much as we would like to have been able to provide him with assistance in September, he was, in fact, over income for our standards. I believe that you do have copies of our standards, but I brought along copies if you don't. If you refer to page 6, you'll see, as Mr. Williams referenced, the $1,611 net income is the threshold for providing assistance. In his case, he had 3 paychecks in the month of September that took him substantially over, I believe, in the neighborhood of $2,700. However, even with 2 paychecks in that month, that is net, plus you add back in any garnishments or any other items, say specific to his paycheck that were deducted, but he was then reimbursed. And that, in his case, would be clothing items for work that found him above our income level. That income level, by the way, is 150% of the current poverty level on the net income basis. So we've tried to be as broad as possible in assisting people who come to us. So the problem that we had is that if we disregard our own standards for maximum income, then we open ourselves up to any number of applicants who may not qualify, and as a result, our standards themselves become less meaningful. We do have the opportunity to make exceptions based on emergencies, and we try to be very discretionary in how we apply that, because we have seen situations that that seem to demand an extra look on our part. I do have that ability, but those circumstances are extreme, and respectfully to Mr. Williams, it did not qualify in this particular case. He is welcome and has, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Terrell, has applied for assistance in the month of October, and I think you're referring to the paychecks that you have in October. Right, that very well may allow him to qualify for assistance. We only provide rental assistance in the current month, so we don't pay any back rent. That is really how the system is set up. And that's where we find ourselves. As much as we would like to have helped Mr. Williams in the month of September, we simply couldn't based on the standards that we had to apply to his case. We have spoken, and and there's, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's no animosity here. We're just unfortunately not in a position to be able to assist him during the month of September.
Does this additional information in any way?
I think based on the evidence that Mr. William has provided and based on the testimony of Mr. Coleman, the paychecks that have been provided could be reflective of possible benefits in October. It appears that he has applied, but they do not count as new evidence, which would affect the appeal that's before the commissioners today. Any additional questions?
Oh, it appears pretty straightforward.
Right.
And not meet the income requirements.
And I would remind the commissioners that they are bound to follow the standards that the Portage Township trustee has set. You have no discretion to go beyond those standards, so the $1,611 eligibility requirement is a standard that you must review and consider. You don't have the ability to go beyond that.
Sean, did you want to?
Just one follow-up comment. If the commissioners should support our decision, one thing that I pledge to do, which we do in these cases, because it is rare that we find ourselves in a position where we're making a denial. But I would be happy to work with Mr. Williams to see if we can refer him to any other agencies. I know he has, on his own efforts, exhausted the resources that are available, but I'm happy to go back at them and see if there's someone else that might be another social service agency that might be able to help with this past grant. Thank you.
We're certainly sympathetic to the situation that you find yourself in. And appreciate your comments, Mr. Coleman, regarding what possibly could be done going forward.
That's what I was going to ask too, because you said in September that you didn't do that, but now this isn't September, this is October, so could you help them now?
Well, again, what we have to do is go through the process again. We will using some of the information that Mr. Williams has provided and also updating the paychecks for the past 30 days that can either support or not support his application. But we've indicated to him last week, I think is when we called the office, that he was absolutely free to make application again, and we look at every month on its own merit.
All right, thank you.
So as far as next step, if the commissioners believe that the Portage Township trustee correctly, based on his standards, denied the request of Mr. Williams, then a motion to affirm the decision and authorize the president to prepare written findings as required by statute would be in order. If the Board of Commissioners determines that Mr. Williams has met his burden of proof on appeal, then a motion to remand the matter to the Portage Township Board of Trustees would be appropriate.
Do we have a motion to affirm?
Yes, there's a motion to affirm to what happened here. Yes.
I'll second.
Mr. Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
The decision has been affirmed.
We'll do.
Need a motion to close
Oh,
public
I'm
hearing.
sorry. There. Motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to
Second.
approve.
Mr. Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. The next item, approval of engagement with Taft, Stenius, and Hollister, LLP.
As the commissioners know, my office was asked to take a look at finding outside counsel for monitoring the situation with the election board. The situation has changed. Last night, a lawsuit was filed against the election board. This contract in front of you is for Taft Law Firm to monitor the lawsuit on behalf of the Board of Commissioners and get involved if necessary, and take recommendations from Taft as it relates to this lawsuit.
Well, given that several issues regarding how the absentee ballots are handled, last Friday, I called on the election board to investigate. Not only did the election board not take that action, they voted 2-1 along party lines to delegate unprecedented authority to the partisan clerk's office to handle many duties, including signature verification, handling the ballots, and storing the ballots. Our goal was to avoid a lawsuit and proposed a third party to review the process. But the lawsuit that was filed last night really makes that moot. It's not appropriate for the partisan clerk to handle a bipartisan matter. Our hand was forced, and I believe we need to hire a law firm to monitor the lawsuit on behalf of the Board of Commissioners and to ensure fair, honest, and transparent process for all the voters in St. Joe County. So with that, I would entertain a motion to retain the Taft Law Firm.
So moved.
I'll second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, moving on to the Health Department. Approval of a contract with Juan Esteban Baus for consulting services.
Good morning. This is Amy Rupi, Administrator with the Department of Health, offices on the 8th and 9th floor of the County City Building. And we are requesting support to enter into a contract with a translator for our office. He was a Notre Dame Fellow with us. That contract has since ended. He has agreed to stay on as a consultant with us, and we are asking for support in the contract.
Thank you. I'd just like to note that we have an agreement with Language Line Solutions to provide translation services, but I want to commend the Health Department for looking for an alternative. I believe this will be considerably less expensive and save the taxpayers money and provide a needed service for the Health Department.
I agree, yes.
With that, do we have a motion to approve the contract with Mr. Baus for consulting services?
Yes, I will have that motion to approve the contract.
I will second that.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, at the request of Commissioner Dieter, we will defer action on approving the 2023 meeting dates till next week. He is on vacation this week. And with that, we will move to public comments.
Where would you like me to stand or sit?
Yes, fine. Please.
Thank you. My name is Mike McManus, 51940 Lilac Road. I'm a citizen and taxpayer of St. Joseph County. Mr. Baxmeyer, your hand was not forced, sir, not in the slightest bit, and you're doing nothing to save the taxpayers' money. You are wasting our taxpayers' money. The lawsuit that you said was, just filed last night and now forced our hand, that's baloney. That is part of a premeditated conspiracy to attack the election process here in St. Joseph County. There is no question about that. And at 12 o'clock, there's going to be a press conference in which I'm going to discuss further this lawsuit that was filed. You, Mr. Horvath, the Republican Party, have been involved in an ongoing effort to destroy the faith of citizens of St. Joseph County in our election process. The resolution that you introduced a week ago, sir, is a fraud. There is nothing in that resolution or the law, nor the facts that supports your resolution. Nothing. It is a political attack against a woman who has given years and years of dedicated service to the people of this county. You are a fraud, sir. You have an egregious conflict of interest. You sit there now as an appointed commissioner, yet you have suggested that our clerk broke the law. You are using a phony, ginned up, looks like a Russian propaganda piece of film from hours of films watching the ballot boxes as your only evidence. That is horrible. Your conflict of interest is, at the same time you sat up there and spoke as purportedly a commissioner, you are a candidate, a Republican candidate for the County Commission District 1. You are closely allied with Amy Rolfe, the Republican candidate for county clerk. You are attacking without any basis or justice or justification whatsoever the Democratic clerk, Rita Glenn. You have dragged her name mercilessly through the mud. Shame on you, sir. Shame on you. You have no basis. Mr. Horvath, I believe, began this whole mess with his concocted key issue. Mr. Horvath had a sworn duty to show up on a day before the election with his key to have ingress and egress to the ballot room. He was contacted several times, and there are several witnesses to that, some of whom who have testified under oath downstairs on the 4th floor conference room.
Thank you for your comments. Your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you. I ask for a little bit more.
No, I'm sorry, sir. We always stick with our 3 minutes.
I have been
McManus?
told, Mr. Mish,
I'm sorry.
you are in conflict of interest too. You have no right to be here.
You need
I
to
have
sit down.
notified state police of this.
Mr.
I'm
McManus,
making a complaint. Thank you, sir.
thank you. You need to sit down.
And I'm going to sit down. You are committing federal
Mr.
violations as
McManus,
well.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mish. It is so nice that you are participating in the muzzling
Mr.
of the
McManus,
people of St. Joseph County.
thank you.
What's his
Sit.
first name?
Michael
Michael McManus? Okay.
J.
Michael what?
Michael J. McManus.
Good morning. Cheryl Nix, 17901 Sable Ridge Drive, South Bend 46635. As a concerned citizen and voter in the 1st District, today I've brought forward Resolution R-21-C-2022, rescinding Resolution R-20-C-2022 that calls for the Board of Commissioners to engage certain legal services related to election integrity. Whereas Resolution R-20-C-2022, which I shall continue to refer to as the resolution, was not on the October 4th, 2022 agenda at the time of the Board of Commissioners meeting, allowing for public notification of this resolution in order for voters to be aware of it and prepare public comments. And whereas the Indiana State Police, a neutral third party, is already conducting an investigation into procedures and processes in order to assess whether or not any violations were committed, thus making the resolution redundant and a waste of taxpayer dollars. Whereas the Board of Elections certified the elections results on May 13th, 2022 without objection of the Republican member Ben Horvath, or the chair or vice chair of the Republican Party of St. Joe County. And whereas Mr. Baxmeyer, due to a clear conflict of interest, as he is actively running for office as the Republican candidate and is actively campaigning with and supporting the Republican candidate for county clerk, wants to avoid the appearance of attempting to influence the election and harm the Democratic Party and their candidates with an investigation. And whereas Mr. Baxmeyer will be solely responsible for the hiring of a legal proxy to represent this action without any stated limits on spending, without requiring the further approval of the entire Board of Commissioners, thus creating a precedent that eliminates the necessary accountability the public expects of their elected officials. And whereas there is a question about whether or not the Board of Commissioners has legal authority to conduct an investigation, which calls the legality of the resolution into question, now therefore be it resolved that based on the reasons listed above, the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners rescinds Resolution R-20-C-2022 so as not to erode public trust in the impartiality of their proceedings and decisions. I'm leaving 3 copies of this resolution and hope you consider it for the next board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Dan Caruso, 305 Compton Street, New Carlisle. Commissioners Fleming and Baxmeyer, this is a conflict of interest to have taken this action. Seeing what's going on in the world today, with they talk about defunding the police. People want the police defunded. Usually, it's people on the right, the R side, that are saying no. The police are doing fine. It's the people on the D side who are saying it's time to defund the police. I'm saying you're defunding the police by, let's take our own action and basically interrupt what the Indiana State Police are responsible for. They are doing their investigation, but that's not good enough for you. You, for whatever reason, and I see nothing but political reasons here, you want to kind of sidetrack and make less important the Indiana State Police investigation, thus defunding the Indiana State Police. You want to take them out of the equation and have political interests, have our side of the aisle say, we're going to do our own investigation. We don't care that the Indiana State Police are normally responsible for these types of things, but you're going to sidetrack that. I think that's wrong. I think you should reconsider and go with the resolution that the young lady just proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Deborah Durrell, 21677 Otten Road, South Bend. I'd like to share with you an open invitation to hear the special presentation of the Dialogue Project to the County Council at their next committee meeting Tuesday, October 25th, 5:30 p.m. in the County City Room 400 Auditorium. Rebecca Go, Director of St. Mary's College's Office for the Common Good, and Megan Zwart, PhD, Associate Professor and Chair of the Department of Philosophy and Director of the Dialogue Project at St. Mary's, will share about the college's efforts to promote productive dialogue, community engagement, and nonpartisan voter participation on campus. They will also share some ideas for collaboration between the county and St. Mary's on these important issues. Also, on the topic of productive dialogue, I'd like to express my appreciation for and encourage participation in the comprehensive plan work being guided by Rundle Ernsberger Associates and the residents. I feel this is one of the most effective contributions we can make for the future, and everyone is doing an excellent job beyond our expectations, far beyond formalities. This is the real deal.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room wish to speak?
I would just like to pass this up as to have it made part of the record. It's the letter that I sent to Mr. Mish last week. Since you now have new council involved, I would ask you, Mr. Mish, to share that with them.
Anybody online wish to speak? Seeing no hands raised, I will entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Fleming, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
We are recessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.